Dali.
Good afternoon, I'm Joe Alcal, the online editor of the Freeman, and welcome to the Freeman Conversations, where we get to talk to the latest stories and trends. And what a good and beautiful story we'll be talking about today, because 4 Cebuanos once again made all of us proud when they landed in the top 10 of the 2018 bar examinations. I'm talking about alumni from the University of San Carlos College of School of Law and Governance. Our top-notchers, the 2018 bar, here live in the studio. We have number 2, Mark Clay Augustus Natuel. Number 3, Mark Lawrence Bayat. Is this really Bayalos? Badayos? Badayos, right? Okay. And of course, we have number 9, Jeb Linus Kane. Because you've been asking, how do you really pronounce this? So Kane. And we can only hope Alan Joel could join us, but he's in Manila right now. But who knows, we might patch him live later on.
Internet.
Well,
not so traditional.
We also have with us live in the studio the Dean of the School of Law of the University of San Carlos, Dean John Largo, who made all of this possible. Dean, thank you so much for being here. And of course, guys, thank you so much for dropping by. We're very glad to have you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, I know you did not want me to ask this earlier, but how did you celebrate last night?
Ang answer ko, yes.
We did celebrate.
How did you celebrate?
I'm
Exercise,
premeditating.
alright, or because seriously, I went with my family on dinner, and then I also went out with my friends.
Okay.
Same.
Same also?
Yes, same thing.
Number 2?
Actually, I was at home because I was already very tired from the series of interviews we had yesterday. Several interviews yesterday. And then I was just happy. I was with my family and I was able to talk with them, to talk to them about the entire experience, because even my siblings and my parents were very happy because everyone congratulated them too.
Of course. Jeff, how did you celebrate?
With my family. We had dinner, and then
Ito ang
after I went out with my friends, my classmates from law school.
Dean, how did the school celebrate yet another victory?
Okay. After food is always the one thing that brings us together, other than good news. But after partaking of some nice food brought in by the teachers themselves, it was business as usual for USC Law, except that there was really a tangible feeling of utter pure bliss in the College of Law and in the classrooms. But it was business as usual, mga anak.
Yes.
Your teachers went directly into conducting the
recitations.
Yes.
Leading to the 2019 bar. Okay, our staff talked to you yesterday and you said you were somehow very confident that these guys would actually make it to the top 10.
Yes, sir, because they're really good. Very hardworking too, and they have the attitude that is really key or essential to success, because you can have really smart people but not have the right attitude. They, fortunately for USC Law, have the right combination of attitude and talent.
What attitude does a law student in San Carlos need to have?
None of them, I think, exhibits what every law professor dreads the most, kind of sense of entitlement. People seem to not work hard for something, thinking that they deserve to be given such things to them in silver platter. So sila, they're really hardworking. In fact, most of our students in the College of Law, mas mabuol sila, Sir Jen, kung absent ang teacher, one of those rare occasions na absent sa white klase, mag-uol.
Yeah.
Hardworking yun.
Okay, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Mark.
Mark.
Mark Lee and Mark. How should I distinguish the two of you?
Mark Lee.
And Mark. Okay. We just spoke to you last year after you won the moot court competition in Europe.
Yes, sir.
And our producer here, Ma'am Grace, was joking, you're gonna top the bar this year. And was that a challenge for you? You actually did top the bar. And not just any number 3.
Well, it's really inevitable, sir. I get that a lot. The pressure, the expectation. But I think I'm just really glad, I'm really happy that I am finally free of all these pressures. It's a big weight lifted off my shoulders yet, and I had the best sleep last night since 2014. Honestly.
Okay, I was reading the notes from our interviews yesterday, and I think the common factor among the 4 of you is that most of the time you did self-review. Was that a conscious decision for you not to really 100% go to review classes? Formal review classes?
Yes, sir. Actually, some of us enrolled in review centers, but even though
You did, right?
yes, I did.
Yeah.
But even though we enrolled, we still most of the time we still studied on our own. We just got materials from the review centers, and we didn't really attend much classes because we already know, based on history, that USC education was already really enough for not just to pass, but really even to top the bar exam. So we were already confident in our training, in our own notes, and in the training and the lessons of our teachers. So that's why we really didn't find the need to find other sources of knowledge because USC was more than enough already.
And that's also on top of the fact, sir, that if you go to the review centers, it will really take a lot of your time.
Not to mention a lot of money.
A lot of money,
Yeah.
sir. And so if you can do it without enrolling in review centers, or if you can get access to these notes without paying such a huge amount of money, then might as well do it on your own. After all, USC has already provided us with the goods in order to deliver.
Yeah, Jeff, same sentiment.
To answer, in the bar, we would be answering our own, so we should be comfortable being uncomfortable by ourselves.
It's a very nice way to put it.
What lagi na siya? Sir.
Dean, I'd like to ask you this because many are actually surprised that the USC School of Law does not have a review class after graduation. Unlike other schools, they have review classes, right? Systematized review classes. Is that a conscious decision of the College of Law?
Yes, because I wanted to do things that I can really put much focus on, put energy and resources on, and if I spread myself, if the college spreads itself too thin, it might not yield good results. For the moment, we think that we can only do very well offering just the basic law program and now venture into review.
But apparently, this works. This works. Okay, several of you, and actually many of the top-notchers also before have said, you study for the bar starting on the very first day you enter law school. Please explain that to those who might still be studying law and those who might want to go to law school in the future.
Based on my experience when I answered the bar, what I can remember is what has happened during our law student days, and I answer it based on self-knowledge and not on what I have reviewed during the 6 months of review.
Okay.
I think it's because, sir, during the 6-month period prior to the bar, sir, it's such a short amount of time, especially against the backdrop of the millions of, not millions, but so many things that you have to cover for the exam. So you really just rely on what you know, what you have learned when you were still a student or when you were still studying law. So it's an advice that we can give to all aspiring lawyers or who will be taking the bar exams. Never ever take your classroom lessons for granted and just really put your heart into it.
Yeah.
Don't wait for the review to come.
Yeah. Alright.
Sir, yes, sir. I never believed it at first, sir, but the lawyers who took the bar before us told us that when we answer the bar exams, when we read the questions, we're going to hear the voices of our teachers answering the questions. So they said that we will remember what was discussed in class, and then we can even remember who was called for recitations for that topic. And I never really believed it because it seemed impossible, or I don't know. But then when the bar exam came, it was really true. You can really remember what your teacher says or what your teacher said before, and you can really remember, especially if you were the one called for recitation and you were wrong.
Okay.
You can really remember that. So
Okay.
it was really helpful that I paid attention even during my law school days.
One of the notes, items in the notes of a reporter yesterday, quoted you saying there were actually times you weren't able to answer recitations.
Yes, sir.
That actually happened
It's
to the
common.
number 2 in the bar exam.
I think that's a common
common.
denominator for all law students, sir. But
Okay.
however, whenever I don't know the answer to a question, I don't just say, "Sir, I don't know the answer," but rather I say stuff up. I make things up, and then the teacher sees my confidence, and at least I don't get a really failing grade. They give me points for confidence, probably.
We try to
Or
learn
creativity.
Creativity, yes. So also, it's a training for the bar exam. So in case you don't know the answer to a question, we're already trained in making stuff up by mixing things.
What do
we
you
don't
mean with making stuff up?
I mean, that's not really the answer to the question, but it's close.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
answer.
Dean, you said the secret. I'll have to put this in quotes because it's now in the open. The secret of USC in putting graduates in the top 10 are hard work, faith in God, and faith in oneself, and university training. What kind of training do these guys undergo in law school?
Not just the substantive law, because although that's really part of it, but they've also been taught how to analyze, solve problems. Basically, the key skills you need to have to take to top the bar, such as thinking skills, problem-solving skills, analytical skills, communication skills, advocacy skills. Those are honed and weaved into the various courses in the college. So it's not just the substance really, but also the skills you need.
Okay. This has been asked many times. Also mag-USC USC. We might as well clarify once and for all. Is it the water? The food you eat?
It's the faculty.
It's the faculty. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Kani
Okay.
sila, I mean, they are small, really just a cross-section of how it is really in the College of Law. Mark Lee, Mark, Jeb can all attest na these are really driven individuals, working students who do not make their being working students as excuse. So,
Okay.
kanang driven, wala gyud sense of entitlement. Those who really
Humble enough to listen to the
humble
teachers.
enough
Okay.
to acknowledge the need to still learn, and kanang yung pagka-discipline also.
It's a good thing you mentioned that, Dean, because there's a concept outside of San Carlos na those who are in USC law, you actually prioritize full-time students. Is it true? Is it true?
Absolutely wrong.
Okay.
Because no priorities whatsoever. Every single law student coming into USC is treated the same,
Okay.
whether working or not. In fact, many times over, the ones who excel well in class and in the bar are the working students.
I
Sabi
see.
si Karen, number 1 in 2016 was a working student. Those who followed suit, several others were working students. Sila, nang work na sila.
When I entered law school, sir, I was also teaching college
Okay.
at the same university. I taught
Okay.
accounting.
Mark
Max.
was teaching
I was teaching
USG.
political science in USC.
USG.
Jeb
I
is
am
working.
coaching the swimming team of that university.
Okay.
So they are
Okay.
working.
So that's just a misconception.
It is
Yes,
a-
yes,
Okay, because because I've actually encountered several also working individuals who actually would want to go into San Carlos Law, but they say, basig lisod kaayo because they would, yeah.
It helps that our classes are in the almost evening na
Evening,
yun.
okay.
5:30 naman, sir, until
Okay.
8:30.
Okay, this year, well actually technically last year, only 1,800 passed out of 8,155 examinees. First of all, Dean, if I may ask you, why is it that the passing average in the bar exams differ from year to year? What's the rationale behind that?
It speaks so much of how chairman-oriented the bar examination is
Okay.
and how volatile things can get. and how variable the factors are. So every bar exam is dictated really by the bar chairman. First, as to the choice of examiners,
Okay.
but also in the way we conduct our bar examinations. They're the highest, the most number of examinees in the history of bar examinations.
8,155.
8,155 is the highest in the history, and yet one of the lowest passing
Right.
percentages.
20.48%. That's actually among the lowest averages for the past 10 years.
10 years.
10 years, yeah. The lowest was in, let's see, for the past 10 years, 2002, 19.68%. Is this, yeah, go ahead. please.
It speaks so much of the kind of bar examination that is conducted. If you have 8,155 examinees, and let's just say 40 questions, because these are 20 questions with sub-questions. So let's think, for instance, of the first subject that they hurdled, political law and international law. If you have 8,155 examinees, and each examinee is asked to answer 40 questions, 40 lang ha, kaya sometimes it can be really more. The examiner only has 3-4 months to check.
Okay.
The superhuman effort it takes for the examiner to be consistent in the appreciation of the answers every single day without any break. Even probably on Christmas, di siya break just so that he can catch up with the deadline that is set. Otherwise, dugay sad kaayo ma-release ang mga results, dugay sad kayo sila. The system really can have some improvements.
Okay.
Because we cannot continue to have a bar exam na 110 patanan. There's so much going against you, so much human factor that is into the examination, and I think that goes into the reasons also why you can have only a passing percentage of 20%.
Okay. What changes do you think need to be put in place?
Okay, first we should have, if it has to be that it is essay and handwritten pag yun, first of all, why don't we do a computerized bar exam? Nobody submits court pleadings in your own handwriting. No handwritten pleadings in court, and yet it is crucial. It is even sometimes determinative of who gets to be number 1 or number 2 handwriting, or who passes the bar for that matter. So if we can do away with that one, so let us. But if it need not be computerized, hindi maging ma-computerized, let us address the issue of appreciation of answers.
Okay.
This is not to say na the present set of examiners did not properly appreciate the answers of of the examinees. Probably they did. But anecdotal accounts in the past would say na, and I think that it is born by human experience. If you keep on checking papers day in and day out, the appreciation will really vary.
Right.
So, and that can go into how much grade you give to the examiner.
How can we address this then?
Kato, kanang let's have, if dili na lang gid nato ma-computerize, let's have what you would call as a panel of readers.
Okay.
The ones who will appreciate the answers uniformly para so many people can look at the answers. You have the assurance the answers will be appreciated. That's a question of fairness. Why are you asking questions you cannot have the time to appreciate the answers to?
Okay. And these can only be addressed with the Supreme Court, I believe?
Yes, because the Supreme Court is the only one constitutionally mandated to handle the admission into the practice. It started, the Supreme Court is starting to address that by having, at present, karong 2019 is two-bar examiner system or setup. Pero parang ako, still, the examiner will still check 8,000 or so notebooks. Probably 15 questions na lang, but still that's a lot. And so,
it can take a toll on the examiner.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that the appreciation of the answers had to be taken into account. Also, even the kind of questions that can be asked. Because sila tanan will tell you so thousands of provisions to commit to memory. And then, And then i-ask lang ni mo, sir, as is humanly the case, 30 questions.
Okay.
So the distribution, the predictability, the reliability of the questions being asked had to be also taken into account. And that is what happens if you have an exam that tests the substance. Why not test to the skill? And that is done not by asking essay question, because some essay questions can masquerade as essay when in reality they're really objective. Because there's a set
Is
of
that
answers.
deliberate?
There's a set of
Okay.
answer that's given and no other answer will be accepted. Then you're just being asked to commit to memory the
Yeah.
answer to that question. On the other hand, you can have an essay question that really tests the analytical skills of the examinee, where there's no set of precise answer that's given, and then it really is up to the examinee to work his way into the problem or use his advocacy skills or argumentation skills. So there are so many things that needed reform.
Hopefully the Supreme Court will be listening to this.
Supreme Court is listening. Supreme Court said that it's willing to look into the reforms, although we have been told that some reforms can happen right away, some reforms can take some time to implement.
But well, whatever it is, I'm sure that USC law will make sure we will still down the bar.
Sir, because there's the issue of regionalizing the bar.
That's right. Yeah.
Sila, listen jud kaayo to be JEBPA, it's really hard to be uprooted from your...
That's true. Yes. Okay, let's discuss that very briefly, because efforts last year to regionalize the bar, at least the petition to regionalize the bar, did not really fly last year because it did not reach the number of signatures needed by the Supreme Court. What happened to that, Dean?
Actually, although this isn't really the official position of the court, but when we ask, some justices are of the belief na what is really needed is for all of the stakeholders to think through of how the details really, how to regionalize, how to operationalize the regionalization, because they're concerned of the integrity of the examination. So more than anything else, if we have to regionalize, how to make sure that there will be no leakage, that we will be able to protect the integrity of the exam. When the examination is given, for example, in Cebu and Davao, how do we safeguard the examination notebooks? How do we keep them safe para we can make sure that they get to be corrected by the examiner. So these are the things, the details that had to be looked into.
Okay, were there proposals from the proponents of the regionalization on how to go about these concerns?
Right now, I speak as president of the Philippine Association of Law Schools. The deans are looking into coming up with the details on how to operationalize the regionalization. So if we can help the Supreme Court walk its way through the whole process, then maybe we can hasten the implementation.
Yeah, because several of them actually also said you didn't go to Manila to review. Both of you did?
Yes.
We
Right.
did.
Si
Alan.
Allen,
Yeah, Alan didn't go to Manila to review. But the two of you, were you there for 6 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you were roommates, right?
Not roommates, but condomates.
Condomates, okay. What about you, Jen?
I was there circling me.
Okay. So how was the experience in Manila? Because as
napakahirap
Dean mentioned,
usapin.
it's a different environment.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
And we have first to adjust. So during the first month, you can't study well, and you have to adapt there, the life, the traffic.
Do not be the traffic in fairness. So prepare na mo yung
But what I think, sir, is that ang bar exam, it's not just a test of how much you know about the law. More importantly, it's really a test of fortitude, your emotional strength, your mental health, most especially, how able you are to adapt to the different situations that you will be placed in or thrown into.
Yeah, because
And
I've
so-
heard several valedictorians finished in the past backed out during the bar exam because they couldn't manage emotionally and psychologically
That's true,
the
sir.
pressure. Yeah.
And so if there's a way for us to help the examinees at least temper whatever anxiety that they have, and I think it's the more human way that the Supreme Court should push through, and that is to regionalize the bar, in which case we bring the examinees closer to their homes, which makes them more comfortable,
Yeah.
makes them more ready to
Okay.
study, review, and take the bar exams.
Okay.
As for me, sir, my biggest concern in staying there was the food.
Why?
I was so used to just having food on the table and then I just eat. But
You had
there,
to prepare.
I had to prepare my
Or
food.
look
and-
for one yourself.
Yeah, look for
Okay.
food, and then having them delivered is very costly.
Okay.
So I also didn't want to get ask for so much money from my parents. Then also it's also very it's a different kind of situation because I was already used to having my family at home, so I had to go home every night, and then I had them to comfort me or whatever. But then in Manila, I didn't have them, so I could only imagine that my journey would have been much easier if I was just reviewing at home.
You would already have the number one if the bar was administered here. Which subject was the most difficult for you guys? Or is difficult even a word to describe the subject for you?
Also challenging.
Okay, most challenging.
I think it would be taxation. Yeah. It's the subject with the lowest passing mark because the questions are very unexpected. We were, I think most of us focused on the NIRC, the National Internal Revenue Code, and then most of the questions come out was from the local government code. Local taxation.
So
Do
taxation.
you agree?
Personally, sir, the hardest for me is remedial law. That's the subject na when I went out of the examination room, where nisink yun akong heart, where I think I could have done better, I could have prepared better. But it is what it is.
Okay. If you can describe a little bit what remedial law is to those
Sorry.
who might not be
Remedial,
familiar. Yeah.
remedial law, sir, is procedural law. So
Okay.
the substantive law is covered by political law, civil law, mercantile law, criminal law, taxation law. And so how to operationalize these laws,
Okay.
how it plays well in the court. That's the procedural law or remedial law.
Why was it the most challenging for you?
The questions, I think, sir, and the coverage, and it's been known to be one of the killer subjects in the bar exam. And it is a difficult subject in the sense that sometimes when you study procedures, some of these procedures it's the law because it is the law. Substantive law,
There's no logic.
yeah, sometimes there's no reason why it's the procedure. And so
Okay.
it's difficult for you to tap into the way by which I personally study the law. That's the law. And so I ask the question, why is that the law? And it sticks more to my memory. That doesn't happen in remedial law or procedural law. You just have to commit to memory that it is the procedure.
But obviously the subject did not kill you. So you did well.
So like
Okay.
you know,
You should assure, sir.
You should assure, sir, that I will forget that answer.
Mark Lee, I'd like to assume taxation was not the most challenging for you.
Yes. Honestly, humbly speaking, it was not that difficult for me.
Okay.
Yes. Because answering taxation was also the questions were not what we expected because some of the questions were basic concepts that we overlooked na during the review because we thought they were very easy, they're not gonna come out. So we focused on the very complicated ones. So as for me, since I already had a background in taxation back in my accounting days,
Because you're also a CPA.
yes, okay, so I was able to channel that previous knowledge and I was still able to answer the questions even though I didn't review for them.
So which subject was the most challenging?
For me, siguro, it was the first exam of the first Sunday, the political law and international law. So, public international law. It's probably because it was the first exam, so I still had mixed emotions and
Jitters.
yes, and I didn't know how to manage my time answering 40 questions because we're not used to answering that many.
Okay.
And then the questions were not what we expected really. We studied previous bar exams, and then what we were given was really a different species of questions. So
Okay.
we weren't able to prepare for it.
Okay. So
So
how did you go around it?
with the USC's training, we were prepared to. We have always been trained to face new situations every day. So I think we were able to adjust probably in the middle of the exam already.
Okay. Dean, you guys, one of the hottest issues in the legal profession and in society today is the killing of lawyers. You were still in law school when this came about?
Yes.
What are your plans? Did it sow fear in you Do you still want to push through? Because we've talked to some of your future compañeros and compañeras. They actually said several lawyers have already backed out from the profession for fear of their lives.
I think to be afraid is really very human, sir, especially against that background. But it is in situations like these where there are challenges not only to the security of lawyers, but even to the lives of lawyers, that we have to step up and we really have to band together as a community of lawyers. It is in the numbers and in the solidarity of the lawyers that we gain strength, and that as long as we do not do anything that is against the rule of law and something that doesn't bug our conscience, we should not be afraid. We may be afraid deep inside, but whether or not we should or we should not be afraid, we should not be afraid, I think.
Actually, that reality has made my mother afraid of my future, fear for my future. She actually sometimes tells me, don't take up controversial cases for your life. But then I realized that that is the practice of law. I think they're just really isolated cases already. And then our dreams, I don't think our dreams could ever be stopped just by that fear. I think our desire to help people and uphold the rule of law is stronger than any fear of evil in society.
I think it's part of the profession, and we have to choose our clients well, and those who want to take high risk, and so they will have high returns. Just like business.
Dean, what's your advice to them? New lawyers entering the profession in these very challenging times.
Not to, of course, approach the situation blindly or with some naivety. We have to recognize that there is a need to be cautious and to prepare, but not to retreat. Because if we retreat, then we institutionalize the very thing that should be changed. Siguro we not go through it blindly in the sense na kasdang ka lang beautiful, but never to, I think, retreat. Otherwise, the evil shall have won already.
Very nice. What do you want to specialize in, by the way?
I have not yet.
What do you have in mind? What are you considering?
I try to follow my advocacy.
Which is?
Fighting for human rights, environment, and also in sports law. Sports.
Interesting.
Because I was an athlete since elementary.
Okay.
And
Kita sad.
What did you play?
I was a swimmer.
Okay. Okay.
We are sinkers. We are sinkers.
What about you?
Sir, I want to litigate, sir. Ever since I dreamed of becoming a lawyer, ako yung vision is when I was still a little kid is to go to court. That's actually the reason why I fell in love with lawyering. Go to court, handle clients, handle cases. So I want to litigate. So it will cover a vast coverage. It will have a vast coverage to civil law, criminal law, sometimes commercial law, remedial law. So we'll see.
Almost everything.
What's clear is that I just want to litigate.
Okay.
For me, at this early stage of my career, I really want to experience everything first.
Okay.
I really want to try everything as long as I grow as a professional. But if I had to choose, the closest to my heart would be corporation and taxation law.
Okay.
So if I had to divide my time, that would be 50%, and the rest would be the other half.
Okay. I know that you did very, very well, obviously, because you landed in the top 10. But if there was something you could have done better during the preparation and during law school, what would that be? Because that might help, those still in law school.
I believe it would be my handwriting.
Nandito.
Yeah, because
That really matters, Dean, the handwriting.
Yes,
Okay,
because the
okay.
way the examiner will read your, my God, it matters.
I
Okay.
spent hours practicing how to write.
Okay. What's the ideal handwriting style, so to speak?
Oo na, oy, sa tanan
Is there a
not
standard?
painful to the eyes.
As
Okay.
long as
It's legible.
Okay. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the first decision that I would think if I would fail the bar.
Okay. Well, obviously, you write quite legibly.
Yan ba sa sir?
Not really.
Taas pa ganun.
Because
But
my,
yeah.
my mercantile law exam, every page I had a narration.
Yung number.
Sir, one siguro, sir. I'd like to believe that I was able to manage my time while I was reviewing. But I can also remember that there were days na I feel so burnt out. Where I don't have the energy to study. Not even the energy, I think don't have the will to study. And so I would have wanted to change that if I could turn back time. I should have, I don't know, better prepared myself for a week or better managed my time. I think that's it, sir. Okay, it's so hard to burn out when you're reviewing.
Yeah, because
You should have paced yourself.
Pace, yeah, that's I think it could be.
that's right. Because you were teaching, you were studying law, and then you were into the moot court competition also, which was also quite demanding. I heard from.
Okay. Yet I still never able to master how to manage my time.
Okay. Okay. What about Mark?
If I were to change something, I would have lessened my reliance on tips or notes that came just a week before the exam, because during the example the Sunday, the week before that, lots and lots of notes come out. There are tips saying this is the examiner's notes. The examiner is a member of this frat, and then this frat has issued these tips, and these are the ones that are gonna come out. And it really wasted a lot of time, and it worsened my mental fortitude. I could have just relaxed and then trusted my 6 years of studying already. So if I could have lessened my reliance on those notes, I would have been able to have more stable emotions and stable mind, and I would have been able to answer the questions clearly.
Okay.
There was during the bar month now when I was looking at Marky and he's the coolest. Ito ako siya ka-relax na kaayo.
He appeared very confident.
Yes.
Okay, tips to those who might want to join the USC Law School. How can they survive 4 years in USC Law?
First of all, you are making the best decision of your life. And then how to survive, sir?
Yeah, because entering is one thing, surviving is a different thing.
Firstly, in order to survive, be dedicated. Dedicate yourself. If you want to be a lawyer, tell yourself you will do everything to become a lawyer. So don't waste your time. Study. Put in the hours. Don't say you'll just study this before the exam. Just understand everything. And then secondly is choose the right set of friends. Choose people that you have the same goals with. People who will support you when you're feeling down, and people who will struggle with you. If you're tired of studying, have these people around you, and then you'll just study again together. So misery loves company, and
Peer pressure on the flip side.
Yeah, peer pressure is okay. It's actually something that made us better law students, because we compete with each other, but we don't kill each other. We compete in a really friendly way. We try to improve ourselves little by little, and even though we're competing, we really still help each other. Because all of this, we're not really enemies. We're teammates in this marathon of taking the bar exam.
Okay. Mark.
Ako, sir, and this is what I've always told sa mga other interviews, so the journey sa law school, it's really very tiring. It's a struggle in itself, and you will find yourself in a lot of bad days. And so you always have to, when you decide to enter into law school, you should be clear as to why you're entering law school and why you want to become a lawyer. Because when the going gets tough, you always anchor on your why. And if you just figure out what your why is, then it's so easy to know the hows, how to survive, how to pass the bar. That's it.
Very practical tips. Go ahead.
Entering law school is very tiring, draining, emotionally. So we need to have a very strong support system, our family, our friends, and also the faculty of our school. They are always there for us.
from a dean's perspective, from a teacher's perspective, how can future applicants of USC Law survive?
Okay, look at it this way. It's just 4 years of your life. So it isn't as if you're being asked to sacrifice the whole time. It's just 4 years. So the pain, the struggle, the sacrifices are very temporary. It will come, those will come to an end. And then when it ends, everything will be worth it. So it's just 4 years. And then look at it also from another perspective. It is 4 years. So it is 4 years, make the most out of it. Being only temporary, might as well get the best out of those 4 years. So never be afraid of the sacrifices because they are very temporary, only 4 years, and then you'll get ATTY for a lifetime. And then because it is 4 years and very temporary, make the most out of it. You will not be there for long. Better spend those 4 years in the best way possible.
Thanks, Dean. Okay, Markley, you had very specific goals. And actually, all of you have specific goals in mind. In fact, you did not only pray and work to pass the bar, but to actually top the bar.
Yes, sir. Yes, ever since, I don't know if I'm really just ambitious or something, but ever since I
Well,
entered,
it worked for you.
yeah, it worked for me, those are probably it will work for you too, but when I first entered law school, I really already started praying to God that first, for me to graduate as valedictorian of my batch, and secondly, to top the bar exam. I didn't know what was ahead of me at that time. I didn't know if I was really going to be the top of my class, but then I had faith. I believe that I was capable of doing this, and I believe that hard work can really accomplish everything. So everything I did was in order to accomplish that goal as well, because I can't just leave everything to God. I also have to do my part.
Yes.
And when I finally was able to do all that I could, God did His part too, and really rewarded me, rewarded my hard work and my faith in Him. And here I am today.
Yeah. If you did not land at the top 10, would that have been fine with you?
I would have accepted it. I would have accepted it. I was really already preparing myself. I was already preparing myself to fail. I've already had plans what I would do if I failed, because it was also it was possible for me, I think. Yeah, it was possible. It was quite possible. But then, I would have wished for it to top, but I would have accepted it, probably. Most likely.
Okay. That rationale, anything can happen in the bar, during the bar. Anyone can fail no matter how much you prepare. How valid is that argument?
That's a very valid, that's
Really
a very realistic, and in fact that's the reality.
Okay.
The best ones do not make it. So it can happen.
Okay.
It goes into the very reason and a very system rather of the conduct of our examination.
Okay. Goes back to that.
The reliability of our test, the validity of our test.
I feared failing also, sir, because of my handwriting.
Okay.
So that was why I also feared I was gonna fail it, because probably my handwriting would be the death of me.
Okay. Okay. I just learned that new lawyers, there is a memorandum now that they need to render pro bono service before community service. Yeah, before they can get accepted into the bar. Is that correct?
No, they can. They will be accepted upon signing the role.
Okay,
Not
okay.
only bar exam, signing the role of attorneys. They become lawyers. They can practice law, but for 1 year from the time that they became lawyers, they have to give back to the community through the community legal aid service.
What are your plans?
It's very good, sir. I feel like a lot of the reason why I wanted to become a lawyer, and probably I'm speaking for all the rest who want to become a lawyer, we have a strong sense of social justice, and the reason why we want to be a lawyer is to help our community in ways that we know how, and this is the way that we know how to help our community. So it's really time to pay back or give back to the community.
Any service you have in mind?
Most of the services, sir, are organized by the IDP, sometimes organized by just a group of lawyers, so we can probably do that also.
What about you guys?
If it were up to me, sir, that shouldn't have been a law. That should have been a given already. That
Okay.
lawyers should render pro bono services. For me, as to how my internship exposed me to the life of inmates in our prisons here, and they really need help. So if I were given the chance to choose which area I would give my pro bono services to, it would probably to the inmates. Because they're there for 10 years without even a day in court, without having been arraigned yet, and their cases are just pending without a lawyer following them up. So that would be my contribution.
What about you, Jem?
That would be easy for me. So,
May have it.
Sabi mo kasi, I follow what my parents fought during the martial law era, and yeah, I will continue it.
Okay. Speaking of which, I asked the officers of the IDP this question, and I'd like to ask this to you today. I might as well take this opportunity. Do you think that there's a culture of impunity now in the country?
Culture of impunity,
Yes.
sir. I think you can say that for a lot of developing countries.
Okay.
We are not a special case. But that being said, I think that we have to continuously pour in a lot of our efforts into our justice system.
Vigilance.
Jem.
Same.
I concur na
It would seem so, sir. But then I'm happy and I'm confident that the new breed of lawyers will really make a change and change that reality and improve that.
Dean?
culture of impunity. When we have killings
Yeah.
publicized heavily nowadays, and if we continue to not work towards remedying that, then there really will be culture of impunity.
Dean talked about changes in the bar exams. What about you? What about in the justice system of the Philippines in general? What do you think are the changes that must be put in place so that the wheels of justice can roll more efficiently?
Sir, mine would be really to enhance the accessibility of our justice system to the needy and the marginalized in society, because I've talked to a lot of people and all they say really is that the court is expensive,
Right.
lawyers are expensive.
Lawyers are expensive.
So that's why if I would be able to influence anything in our justice system, it would be on that aspect, really, on the fees. Or
How do you think we can? What can we do specifically?
I think the most if we can't change everything totally right now, I think that the immediate solution would be require more pro bono work from lawyers, because after all, we're supposedly not in this profession for money. We're supposedly in this profession to help, to be officers of the court, to be administrators of justice. So I think the immediate solution would really be to require lawyers to help.
Good, Mark.
For me, sir, based on my experience when I was an intern in Mandaue RTC Branch 55, I was a court decongestion officer there, and there's a lot of truth to
There's
what
actually a court decongestion officer.
There is.
Position.
Yes,
and
because court dockets in Cebu and in many parts of the country are plugged.
they're congested. And there's a lot of truth to what they say, sir, na justice delayed is justice denied. So we have to put in effort to hasten our dispensing of our cases, or making decisions for cases, just so we are really able to serve true justice. And that's what I really felt really connected to because of my experience as a court decongestion.
Right, because that seems to be a norm in the Philippines, which is
Just unfortunately.
Jesus
I
can
don't know,
reach
sir, if
a
we still have
decade.
the time, let me just say,
Yes,
it's
yes,
a
please.
source of pride for me that when Mark interned in RTC 55, it's a simple matter of changing a little bit or tweaking the process, and a lot of changes can take place. Mark was speaking of cases, of too many cases of clogged dockets. They introduced a form, just introducing a form that will be accomplished by lawyers, eased up the traffic per day, every day for the cases that are being called. So in fact, their work is one of a kind, and hopefully it will be replicated in many courts in the country. They thought of that when they were interns.
Please recommend to other courts.
I wish I had
You have a
connections.
template in mind?
Nindot yun doon yung nabukas ko.
The same siguro to naman, sir.
Because
Pero it's really simple, sir. It's a simple form.
if it's simple and it's something that's doable, and if you were able to do it in your court, why not replicate it in other courts? Yeah. Might as well share the knowledge with other courts.
Yes, sir.
No pressure, but Jeff, what about you? What do you think needs to be put in place as far as changes in the justice system is concerned?
I think the procedures should favor the less fortunate people, because right now the procedure is being exploited by those who have money. Lawyers would exploit the procedures in their favor. They would delay the cases until the money of the less fortunate will be drained. And so the cases would now be stopped against them.
What do you think can we do? What ideas do you have?
Nothing in particular yet. It's so hard to think. It's
Yeah.
very specific, sir. Especially that we haven't really dipped our toes into the legal practice. So we can get back to you.
Maybe strictly enforce our rules on forum shopping and the like, no? So that there won't be additional cases filed for the same cause of action.
That's true.
There are also some procedures in our present rule na can be changed, no, Jem, no? And in fact, Supreme Court has already started the huge task of re-examining the rules in the hope of changing them very soon, just before the retirement of the chief.
What are these, Dean? For example?
For example, karon, you can file a case and not just put in the evidence yet because you are required to only state what we would call ultimate facts. Karon, that can sometimes lead into legal adventurism, sir. Like, I will gather the evidence later in the hope that the other party will cough up some settlement amount. So that can lead to the filing of some baseless suits, you can say that. Pero now they're looking at the possibility of requiring that once you file your complaint and as you file your complaint, you attach already there the evidence that you have in support of your case. As simple as those kinds
Will
of
that fast
changes.
track the process?
Certainly.
Okay, one question, final question. If there is something that you want to tell the Supreme Court Chief Justice, what would that be?
That there have been a lot of challenges to the integrity of the Supreme Court in the recent years, sir. So, from a humble law student, di na natin ko law student, from
Panyero.
Lawyer.
Limited lawyer. It's just our humble plea to maintain the independence of the Supreme Court and our judicial bodies, because in a democracy, it really is the court that holds a lot of the integrity of a democracy, and so we have to protect that at all costs.
Great.
Nice.
Jeb, yeah.
He should be the one who would lead the justices and judges to be independent, impartial, and
Actually, I also have the same opinion. Just, sir, peace. Peace.
Word of peace.
That would also be my, just really try to maintain the independence of the judicial system, despite all the pressures, just maintain it. And if ever you're in need of help in anything in improving the judicial system, I think the graduates of USC Law are willing to help.
No pressure to all graduates, but well, of course, you are in the top 10, so you definitely have the right to say those. Congratulations once again to you guys. Our top-notchers from the University of San Jose, San Carlos. Number 2, Markley Augustus Natural, in second place. Mark Lawrence Badayos, third place. And we have in 9th place, Jeb Linus Kane. Of course, in number 10, Alan Joel Pita. Congratulations to you, wherever you are. Hope you're watching this. And Dean, congratulations to the law school. And, well, Can we hope more top-notchers in the future?
Yes.
It's been consistent since you became dean of the law school since
No, we have had
2013.
many top-notchers
Yes, we did.
before my
Yeah,
time.
yeah, I'm
There
sure.
have
I'm
been
sure.
many.
But since 2013, almost every year.
Yes. And not just one.
Not just one. Right, right.
Not just one.
And you mentioned yesterday, Dean. There's still a lot more to improve. As far as
We can be better even if you're already the best. You can always be better.
That's right. Okay, congratulations once again to the University of San Carlos School of Law and Governance, and to you guys for topping the bar. Of course, we'd also like to say congratulations to the others in the top 10. Number 1 from Ateneo de Manila University, Sean James Borja. We also have number 4, fourth and fifth, also from Ateneo, Daniel John Fordan and Katrina Gao. From UP in number 6, Nadine Tonko. From UP also in number 7, Patricia Sevilla, and Catherine Ting in number 8 from De La Salle University of Manila. Well, they're already in the top 10. Di ba La Salle Law School is just quite new in 2010?
They're on their 10th
9 years.
or ninth year.
What about USC?
Since
How old is
1937, I'm kind of right some months.
How old is the law school?
Since 1937, I'm clear.
It's a long time.
That's a long time. Thank you guys, and to all who passed the bar in 2018, congratulations to all of you, and we look forward to having you serve the justice system as efficiently and wholeheartedly as you can. Thanks for joining us in this edition of the Freeman Conversations. I'm Joe Okal, the online editor of the Freeman. Join us again next time. As we say here, be part of the conversation. Every story is a conversation. See you guys.